Recently, I've been watching a lot of Steve Gaming's videos about can you beat insert Mario game here without collecting any coins. These videos are really good, so I decided to try out the concept on one of my favorite games, Sonic Mania. Probably already knew that because you read the title or thumbnail, but whatever. Today, we are setting out to find out if you can beat Sonic Mania without collecting any rings. First, we have to set up some ground rules for the run. See that ring counter there? If that ever goes above 0, we have to instantly restart. Now, what do I mean by restart? I don't mean the game's built-in restart feature. In the files, you can actually enable a dev menu, which allows you to quickly restart from the last checkpoint, while the default restart button makes you restart the entire level. This should make playing the game not that tedious, because if we get a ring, we can automatically go to the last checkpoint instead of restarting the entire level. We just have to make sure that every time we collect a ring, we restart as fast as we can, because if I collect a ring and then hit a checkpoint before I restart, I'm screwed because that counts as a ring collected. We're going to be using Tails for this run because he has the most aerial control. Some might say that we should use Ray, and Ray is a good choice, but you just have more aerial control with Tails on where you want to go and where you want to land. So we're going to be going with Tails for this run. Now that we've got the ground rules down, let's jump right into a game and see if we can beat it without collecting any rings. Green Hill Zone Act 1 is fairly easy, because once again, we're playing as Tails, and you can just fly over most of the rings, but sometimes you do have to mix up the path that you're taking a little bit, and there's this one part where you have to kind of fly down like this. It's pretty easy. Green Hill 1 isn't too much of a challenge. The only real issue is taking down the boss at the end of the level, but it is the first boss, so it's not too much of a challenge, and we can move right on to Green Hill Zone 2. Green Hill Zone Act 2 is a lot harder than Green Hill Zone Act 1, but it's not too difficult still. There isn't anything too notable about Act 2. It's just maneuvering around rings and restarting if you grab any. Green Hill Act 2's boss is really easy because the legs don't have a hitbox, so you can just camp under the legs and keep on jumping until he's down. And that's all of Green Hill Zone completed without collecting any rings. Next up is Chemical Plant Zone Act 1. And I know I said Green Hill Act 2 was kind of difficult, but the difficulty difference between Chemical Plant 1 and Green Hill 2 is just crazy. Chemical Plant 1 is so much harder. First off, you can't take the top route because it's blocked off by rings, and there might be some way to make this jump, but I don't really have the time for that. You can, however, take the bottom route, skip this loop by not going around it, turning around, and then going down the way it would send you. Dodge these crab people thingies, I don't know their names. Go down this tube, take a pretty specific route to be spat out in the exact right place that you want to go, and then spend the rest of the level cowering in fear as you try and avoid all of the rings. Chemical Plant Zone 1 took me a lot longer than I would like to admit, and it was in this level that I learned two things. Number one being that the hard part about doing this run is not going to be actually doing it. It's going to be routing it. A big thing about Sonic games is how many different paths they have and how much they interconnect with each other. Chemical Plant Zone is a prime example of this. It has so many paths and so many different ways you can complete it. To get an optimal route where we don't collect any rings, you're gonna have to go between these different paths a lot. So most of Chemical Plant Zone 1 wasn't even actually messing up and collecting rings. It was just doing trial and error and seeing which route was the easiest and which ones couldn't be done at all. Eventually, I finally got to the Chemical Plant Zone 1 boss, and this one is a lot harder than both of the Green Hill Zone bosses, because this one is known as the boss that everybody just damage boosts through. After 2 or 3 tries, I did defeat it though, and we're on to Chemical Plant Zone 2. Chemical Plant Zone 2 has kind of a weird layout, especially at the start. Basically, it's this one path that you have to take, and then you get launched onto this giant green bouncy thingy, and you get sent off into the multiple paths thing I was talking about earlier. But the start of the level is totally linear and cannot be skipped, which is an issue because to get past it, you need to collect rings. That's right, most loops in the game cannot be gone around because all of them have rings inside of them. And the only way to get out of this linear area is to go around the loop. I could not believe that my journey stopped this quick in the game. We still have like a lot of other zones to go through, and we got stopped at Chemical Plant 2. After all the work I just put into Chemical Plant 1, there was no way I was giving that up, but I'm afraid that it cannot be done. You cannot beat Sonic Mania without collecting any rings.
Or can you?
Now, I've been doing this run in Mania mode, which is the main mode of the game. However, there's a side mode that was added in DLC called Encore Mode. This is basically the same as the main game, except the levels have slightly different layouts, and a lot of the objects have been moved around, including rings. Now in Encore Mode, this loop still does have rings around it, but Encore Mode also has a lot of glitches that Mania Mode does not. In Encore Mode, you always have a partner with you. In speedruns, this can be abusable, because you can teleport your partner to you, and then a lot of the times, they'll teleport into a ceiling above you if you're positioned correctly, which can let you skip a lot of the levels. So, all we have to do is get into Chemical Plant Zone 2 in Encore Mode with one of our people being Tails. Not that hard, right? Except it's stupidly overcomplicated! In Encore Mode, the first level is Angel Island Zone, and after you beat that, you're kicked into Green Hill Zone and play through the rest of the game as if it's Mania Mode. However, I cannot pick Tails from the get-go. You have to play as Sonic through Angel Island Zone until you pick up a life monitor with Tails in it. Lucky for us, Angel Island Zone is beatable as just Sonic. It's not the easiest thing, but it's pretty simple to maneuver around most of the rings, but you will miss your jumps from time to time. Eventually, I finally got to the end of Angel Island Zone, where you have to break open this capsule and pick between Mighty and Ray. Now, I figured that Ray would be the best choice because of his air mobility. However, I quickly learned that there are rings blocking his path. I then went back through it and tried to pick Mighty, but there are also rings blocking his path. Now, while Mighty's rings seemed totally unavoidable, the rings on Ray's path did seem like you might be able to fly over them. So I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I tried again, until I finally got it. Keep in mind that I only really got to the end of Angel Island Zone about 1 out of 10 times, and I had to play through the entire level multiple times just to get back here for one try to fly over the rings. It was kind of dumb. But I finally got over it, and with Ray and Sonic in hand, we moved on to Green Hill Zone 1 Plus. I should probably mention this somewhere in the video for those of you who don't know, but the life system works a bit differently in Encore Mode. Basically, you can have up to 5 lives at once. Every life represents one character. When one character dies, it swaps out with the next character in the lineup. The life up monitors are a bit different too in this mode. Basically, they flash between the different characters it's going to give you, and you have to jump on it with the exact right timing to get the character that you want. Another thing about Encore Mode is that as long as you have at least 2 lives, you are always going to have that partner with you, which is really annoying, because a lot of the time the AI will pick up rings that you don't want. So you're going to want to be solo for most of the run. The restart function also works a bit differently in Encore Mode. While it still sends you back to the last checkpoint, for some reason it also gives you back the characters you had at the start of the level. So if I start a level, break open a character monitor to get a new character, hit a checkpoint, and then restart, it'll send me back to that checkpoint with the characters I had at the start of the level. There isn't much I could do about this, so I just had to do every level without messing up. And God, it's so overcomplicated. First off, you have to switch to Sonic and then immediately commit suicide, because the longer you have a partner with you, the more chance they have of picking up a ring that you don't want. After killing Sonic, you have to play through until the next checkpoint as Ray, while making a lot of precise flights over enemies and rings until you get to this life up monitor. Here, you have to jump at the exact right time so that you get Tails instead of somebody else. Next, you have to switch to Tails, jump down to where these spikes are, kill Ray so that he doesn't collect any rings that you don't want, and then play through the rest of the level as Tails. Then, once you get to the end of the level, you have to beat the DD Wreckers without any rings, flawlessly, and you have to do this all without hitting any checkpoints or using the restart function, because that gives you back the characters you had at the start of the level, which you don't want. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, Green Hill 1 is kind of a hassle, but after you finally beat it, after so many tries, this took way too long, you're on to Green Hill 2, which is just like it is in Mania Mode. You just have to play through the level like normal, beat the boss, and move on to Chemical Plant 1. Now, I happen to know where an extra life is close to the start of Chemical Plant 1, so my strategy was going to be to grab that extra life, beat Chemical Plant 1 with that partner and hope they don't grab any rings, and then as me as Tails and with someone else as my partner, I'm going to perform the ceiling glitch in Chemical Plant 2 to skip part of the level. And that part of the level we're skipping is the part that's impossible. I have a really good spot where I can do this glitch, and it's actually used in speed runs here, so I was really hoping it would work. Now, I tried Chemical Plant Zone 1 in Encore Mode for quite a while, but I didn't actually finish it, and I was like, you know, it's probably good to make sure that this is actually possible before I just keep trying Chemical Plant 1. So, I jumped into a save file that already is 100%ed and went to Chemical Plant 2 to test out the glitch. As Tails, I go to the spot where you do the glitch, I do the glitch, I go up into this area you're not supposed to be in, I do the glitch to get to some other spot, just like the speedrun did, and we are stuck here. There is no way to progress to the left, and to the right is Rings of Death. And you might be thinking, well, can't you just do the glitch again to clip through this ceiling here? I tried for so long, and he kept teleporting back to me at just the wrong moment. Basically, how the glitch works is that you need to get your partner far enough away from you that you can teleport them back to you while having a ceiling right above you, and then as they teleport to you, they need to teleport into the ceiling. You need to spam the jump button so that they go above the ceiling, and then you need to land back on the ground and then swap with them so that you're playing as them while they're still up there before they teleport back to you because you're too far away. But sadly, this ceiling is too far up above from the ground here. I tried for so long to just, he kept, it's so infuriating just thinking about it. I'm so close, but so far at the same time. I went back down to the first level to see if there was anywhere I could do this glitch. I looked at level maps, man. I looked everywhere, and I found nothing. With the information that I currently know about glitches in the game, I believe that it is impossible to get past Chemical Plant Zone Act 2 in Mania mode and Encore mode. And sadly, that means that it is not possible to beat Sonic Mania without collecting any rings. But that does bring up the question, what is the minimum amount of rings? And that is a question so hard to answer, I didn't tackle it. There are multiple places in the game I can think of from the top of my head that are just not possible to get past. There's only one path you have to take, and it has rings on it that are impassable. In Lava Reef 1, I went through the level, I found like 3 spots where you would have to collect rings, and that's only in Lava Reef 1. That is one level out of all the levels in this game. If there are 3 spots in this one level where you have to collect rings, think about all the other spots in the game. The minimum ring amount would be so high that doing a minimum ring run wouldn't even be worth it. My guess is that you need to collect at least 100 total rings to beat Sonic Mania, and that's just an amount too high that I don't think it's worth doing minimum ring runs. I know this is a very disappointing ending. We don't know the minimum amount because I was too lazy to do it. Routing it would take forever. Just looking at all the level maps, it'd be so hard and annoying, and it's not possible to do without collecting any rings. I know this might have been unsatisfying, but I think my next video, if you enjoyed this one, might satisfy you a little bit more. Speaking of enjoying the video, if you did enjoy the video, please make sure to subscribe. If you liked this video, you will like what I'm doing in the future. Trust me, subscribe right now. There is no way that you are not subscribing right now. If you are not subscribed or subscribing right now, then you are doing it wrong. You are doing life wrong. Anyways, yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.